As Jarrell Casey told me on Sunday night in San Francisco after the loss against the 49ers, this is all or nothing for the Titans now. 2 games left, need at least one of them to have a shot, in all likelihood, to get into the playoffs after back-to-back losses out on the West Coast. We're talking this one over tonight here on Titans Talk. 737-7767 is the number. Ed has been kind enough to wade through the break. Ed, okay. Ed, actually, we lost him. Just like that. He was great to wade through the break. We lost him right then. So, Ed, if you want, call us back. We'll try and work you in here in the final segment. And our phone lines are still open for the rest of you. But I think one of the other big things, the lead of the game last night will ultimately be Jimmy Garoppolo going to 3-0 as a starter for the 49ers and directing that final minute drive to get them in position for Robbie Gould to make another field goal. 6 for 6 yesterday, 5 for 5 the week before, and give the 49ers a win. That's going to be sort of the big picture around the league lead of that game. But to me, the real story, especially from the Titans standpoint, happened on the drive before that, right before the Titans actually took the lead 23-22. There was a third down play, and we'll get more into that in just a second. But essentially, the Titans' decision on that play was to take the ball out of their hands of their star quarterback and rely on the running game. And by doing that, when that run play got stuffed, they in essence put the ball and the game back into the hands of the other team's quarterback. And we talk about this all the time on this show, and we're not alone. This is a quarterback-driven league. The quarterbacks are the stars. They are the impact players that decide games more than anyone else week in and week out. And based off of the rules and how difficult it is to defend these guys these days, just about any quarterback in the league with 2 minutes or 3 minutes to go and a timeout in their pocket or whatever, needing a field goal, you feel pretty confident about their chances. A lot of them feel confident if they need to go down the field and get a touchdown. But only needing a field goal, you feel good about their chances. And when the Titans had to settle for that 50-yard field goal from Ryan Suckup right there with 1:07 left, and there was 1:07 left on the clock when the ball went back to Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know how many Titans fans or people watching there at Levi's Stadium felt comfortable or confident that the Titans defense was going to step up to the challenge and stop him in that moment. And I think the lesson is there, when the game is on the line late, you've got to be aggressive. And boy, if it's not going to work, I want it to not work because the ball's in the hands of your best player. And there's a whole bunch of things to unpack there. One, the Titans have made themselves about being a smash-mouth football team, which I think has served them very well over this 2-year turnaround under Mike Mularkey. But does it always serve you well when that's your identity? When people think that's where you're going to go with the game on the line? There have been a couple short yard situations the last 2 years that they haven't been able to get when the game's on the line. Just because people load the box, and these defenders are good. They scout things out well. Would you rather have more options with the ball in the hands of your best player, Marcus Mariota? Or does this somehow say, given some of his struggles or maybe injuries throughout the year, that they don't have that same level of confidence in him to be their best player in that moment right now? I don't think that's the case, but it's something certainly to discuss here. And then maybe the biggest thing about it for me is Mariota was on board with the play call. He believes in their philosophy offensively. He actually said he went to the sideline to suggest that play call based off of what he was seeing up front from the 49ers. That's fine and all well and good. But when you think about it, even if you think going to the line of scrimmage that this run play is our best option here, it's a great play for us to run. Even if you think that's the case, when you line up and see the defense they came out with and the single coverage you have with the 2 guys who would be your wide receivers on the play, do you think Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning when he was still playing, do you think one of those quarterbacks, stars in this league, look at that and say, we need 2 yards for the run, they're kind of stacked up against it, or I have single coverage, the ball in my hands? Do you think any one of those guys would stick with the run call? and essentially not be a factor in the play? Because I don't. I think each one of them would audible out of it to put it into their hands and make it be a pass play at that situation. Yesterday, Mariota stuck with the run call. And here's just a human trait factor about him is he's humble and he's unassuming and he's a great guy and he's a team first player. That's fantastic and it's wonderfully endearing. But in order to be a star quarterback in this league, at some point, you have to rise to that moment and want the moment. You have to want the ball in your hands on that play and say, the game's on the line here. Season may be on the line here. I'm going to make a play for my team. And yesterday, Mariota just said, all right, this is the play we wanted. It's got a pretty good chance to work. I'm confident in our other guys. At what point does he need to say, I'm the most confident in myself, I'm going to make a play, and we're going to get this done? Because if the Titans get that first down, the game ends with them winning. They're confident of that. I'm confident of it. Ryan Suckup makes the kick, especially if they're closer in. They win the game, and they go home with a win yesterday. And they're probably going to the playoffs in a couple of weeks, no matter what happens these final 2 weeks. But instead, they run the ball, take the ball out of Mario's hands, and they put their fate into Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, and he made them pay. All right, back to the folds we go. Let's say hello to Tony. Tony, thanks for the call.
Okay, you're doing a lot of ifs and ain'ts, but what disturbed me, you didn't get to interview none of the Titans players after the game, I guess because they were sore losers. But when they was moving the ball, they was throwing the ball to Decker, and they was moving that ball up and down the field, changing plays. I don't know why they stopped going to Decker, and people in the league know Mariota is going to keep throwing to Walker, and he just setting himself up every time because they're loading the box for Walker. Look how many players were around him yesterday, and he still threw the ball to him. And I'm just disappointed in them Titans because I know they should have been out there cleaning the clock on them people. They need cornerbacks bad. You can't have no cornerbacks no 5'2" and cover them guys 6'6", 6'7", coming up in the ball. What kind of mess does the Titans keep getting misses from the team?
Hold on. There's no cornerback on the Titans team who's 5'2". The shortest guy on the team is 5'10", and that's Adoree Jackson. And there was no wide receiver for the 49ers who was taller than 6'3" yesterday. So it's not nearly the chasm that you're creating there.
But they really need help at cornerback, and you keep gassing them up. This is supposed to be a ball city now, just like Boston, just like New England, just like Philadelphia. This is a ball city, and this city is paying for that team, they're paying for this field. They should be doing better because this is coming out of taxpayers' money. No matter how much you defend them, that's the time.
Look, they absolutely should play better. They have been terrible the last couple of weeks, and that goes to everybody over there, from the coaches on down to the players. They have to perform better than they did. There's no question about that. I think you're right. I think Eric Decker has not made the impact that he should have throughout this entire course of the season. He was great yesterday. Rashard Matthews was fantastic yesterday in the passing game. Frankly, yesterday, for the first time all year, the offense wasn't the issue. The scary thing, for how sad it is the defense has carried them much of the year as the offense has sort of slumbered along. Yesterday, the offense showed up and was pretty darn good for 3/4 of that game yesterday and put them in a position to win, and the defense twice in the fourth quarter had leads that they needed to protect and couldn't get it done. Where's that come from? You talk about complementary football, you want it to come together, and it just hasn't for whatever reason for the Titans this year. All right, let's try and sneak in Mitch here. Mitch, thanks for the call.
The reason we can't win is because you can't beat the referee. You saw that pitiful call against Cyprian. Yeah, when he intercepted the ball, he had red gloves on.
Yep.
Ball was in his hands. The offensive guy was on the outside of his hand. At one point, when you look, the ball is loose, and Cyprian's red gloves are grabbing the ball. They're both down by contact right there. We reviewed it, and they still gave it to him.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of replays in the NFL yesterday in several games that make you scratch your head, and that's a topic that we could fill an entire show with. If you're not going to definitively get replay right, why have replay at all?
Well, and it cost us in the Arizona game when they called the holding penalty on Conklin, which is a 56-yard run. If that would have been a first down, this would have been a whole different game.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
No, you're right. I think it's short-sighted given where they are. And, Mitch, I appreciate the call. With all the problems the Titans have had this year, to blame it on the officiating. But here's the thing. It's a very, very thin line. And it was a year ago. The Titans weren't blowing people out for the most part last year. They were figuring out ways to win. And a year ago, they had guys sort of playing career years from all over, offense and defense coming together for that. This year, they haven't reached that level. And when the other team makes a play or you don't get a call, all of a sudden, they're not getting over that hump. And that's cost them in a big way. Back after this.